Hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing topic of, will my child become more high functioning as they get older? There are 8 things I'm going to share with you that I'm sure you're absolutely going to agree with. And these are absolutely necessary to see your child become a more high functioning child with severe autism or even mild autism to see changes. So my name is Natalie Pelto. Welcome to my channel, or to our channel. I am one of the co-founders of Blue Life RX. I help families with lifestyle medicine get their children to lost milestones quickly in my Blue Life Autism program. But this channel is a great resource if you are looking for information on severe autism and how to support your kids. So the first thing that I want to share, and it's not the first thing, but there are 8 things that I'm going to share with you today that are going to impact your child's the severity of your child's autism. And number 1 is sensory sensitivities and stress is the number 1 thing that will keep your child in a severe state. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's unpack it. What are sensory sensitivities and stress? And our current way of dealing with these is actually to reduce them, to remove them. So for example, we know that most children with autism actually suffer from sensory processing disorder. And sensory processing disorder, for some reason, has been educated to parents as being a genetic predisposition or a genetic disease. This is not true. And so many physicians are starting to change this the more that the gut-brain connection and the gut-brain axis become more studied, but also brain development in itself is absolutely proves that this is not true. So for example, in sensory processing disorder, there is this disconnect or rewiring, as some parents will feel, they've been explained it to, where their children experience the world differently. And they sure do. That's not a lie. It's just that there is so much more that we can do about it, to the point where it can actually be improved and put into remission. So why is there sensory processing and sensory sensitivities? The truth is, sensory sensitivities and sensory processing is a disconnect through the messaging that our children are experiencing through their 5 senses. This means that they could have auditory sensitivities through their ears, which is why some loud noises can seem overwhelming in a pile of information that we are able to filter and choose what to focus on. Our children with autism sometimes cannot. This is often due to improper neurotransmitter pathways, which interestingly enough are linked to zinc deficiencies, by the way. So nutritional deficiencies are actually the lead, and toxicity blockages are the lead in causing sensory processing disorder. It is no surprise that when I work with families, as soon as we start to address nutritional deficiencies and start to support healthy brain development and remove toxic load, they actually start to experience life in a much more regulated way. They start to be able to, in some even big cases, right away speak. And in some cases, they start to be able to, have receptive language, make more eye contact, and the world is less overwhelming for them. And it just makes sense, because our neuroreceptor sites are actually made from omega-3s and amino acids that actually have to be ingested. So sensory processing disorder and stress are interconnected in the sense that the more stress that our children have, the more sensory processing deregulation they have by default, because it creates an inflammatory response. Now, inflammatory response, it just means it brings in inflammation. Now, inflammation can come from anywhere in the body. It can come from an emotional state where we are, experiencing something negative, and emotions can come from our endocrine system by default, because that's the chemical system. And then we also can see this from our gut health, right? Our gut health, our nutritional deficiencies, these actually can increase hyperpermeability of the gut, which means like leaky gut in layman's terms, and cause for more inflammation to go up to the brain. So number 1 thing we want to address is we want to support our child's neurological stability and reduce neuroinflammation. And this is actually done with lifestyle. This does not have to be a complicated topic. So number 2 is restricted diets and eating patterns. So please understand that if you have a picky eater who only eats things like chicken nuggets, who are only eating, and so everybody knows, like I was a severe autism, like a nonverbal severe autism mom at one point. My son has actually put his conditioning to complete remission. And so I am talking to you as a woman who has been through exactly what you are living right now. And my son would only eat 3 foods. One of them happened to be chicken nuggets, and it is the most preferred and known food for autistic individuals. It has a lot of addictive properties in it, and it does not yield nutrients that they need to survive. And I have a lot of information on my Instagram. So if you want to learn more about that in short spurts, you can go there at Rebel Spectrum, and I will put the link down below. But restricted diets and eating patterns, if these cause nutrient deficiencies. They also do not allow for proper brain development, which I just kind of gave a lot of education on. So restrictive diets and eating patterns are extremely important. Rigidity is the first thing that we need to support. And you may feel like this is a mountain to climb. And it may be in some cases for some families where their children are only eating 1 or 2 foods. But the truth is the mountain is worth the climb. And if you have a proven system, which I do in the Blue Life Autism program, it's called the Bring the Fun Back to Mealtime course, and program with like guided calls, that area there, when you have a proven system, you are able to overcome this. And my true, honest opinion of what I see dealing with many, many autism moms is that once you can support this and overcome picky eating, you can actually hit the ground running in any lifestyle program. But this is where all resources, all foundational needs, all funding, all thoughts and learning need to go to at the beginning of your journey. Number 3 is limited physical activity. We know that our autism kids tend to be very screen-based. They love their screens. They don't tend to, unless they have usually an ADHD diagnosis, they're not usually extremely overactive. And in some cases, autism can be linked to other diseases or illnesses or conditions like cerebral palsy, which limit mobility. But for those that are not limited in mobility, the actual amount of movement needed in a day-to-day period is actually 60 minutes per day, which for some parents, this seems like, oh, I had no idea. And this is not like working out. This is like play exercise. Number 4, if you do not help them with all of the last 3, the things that will keep your child in a severe state are comorbidities. So these are co-occurring conditions that are lifestyle based. These look like hyperthyroidism, diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, heart disease, cancer. These are 90% lifestyle based with only a small 10, well, some people say 2 to 10% genetic predisposition. So unlike what we used to think, we used to believe that all of our illnesses were genetic, including autism. This is actually not. It is a genomic epigenetic condition, which is lifestyle based, which means that our epigenetics, these little switches on our genes, they actually can influence our genetic material way more. That is actually epigenetics stands for that which is above our genes. And so these are actually ruled by environment. And so not providing an area or some good nutrition and lifestyle. That lifestyle needs to provide, support for illnesses like this that can happen later on in life. The actual support starts now. Just like brain development and academic success that we used to think as parents needed to be invested in our child's education post-secondary is actually now needing to be invested in education to understand brain development, because when 90% of the grocery store has shifted to provide food that is processed and not good for brain development, we actually need to be more informed as parents, unfortunately. So the 5th thing that will stunt your child into becoming more high functioning is difficulties with healthcare access. We know that healthcare access does not, number 1, does not necessarily, well, I used to work in healthcare. I was a frontline worker for years. And so knowing that our healthcare access is limited at best in understanding lifestyle conditions, although this is changing and I am part of that change. In this Blue Life RX YouTube channel, you will see a lot of different variations of what we're talking about when it comes to lifestyle and healthcare. But we know that our current support for autism in the healthcare system is extremely limited. We also know that if statistically this keeps going, if we see the numbers grow the way that we are today, right now, 8-year-olds are the ones being assessed, which I think is ridiculous. It should be a much younger age, but 8-year-olds are the ones being assessed, which means that there is an 8-year gap of truly knowing what the numbers are right now. And currently, for example, in California, the numbers are 1 in 21 for kids. And this is just going to grow. And we have an 8-year gap because some studies are showing that autism is starting as early as in the womb, which they're trying to say is proving that it is genetic. But the truth is that our mothers are passing down over 200 plus chemicals through the umbilical cord. So we need to be addressing these types of toxicity behaviors, and I'm digressing. So going back to our healthcare system, we need our parents to advocate. We need to be able to see parents request, demand for better healthcare access for our kids with autism and more resources that are lifestyle based. Another thing that will stunt your child's growth, especially to high functioning, are the medication side effects. We know that a lot of conditions that are related to autism are often neuropsychological. And so what ends up happening is we have a group of many different things like Prozac and very, very strong antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication provided to our kids, sometimes as young as 4 to 6, even younger in some cases. And this creates a completely deregulation within our ability to create more of the chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. And all that these medications often will do is allow for, let's just say, serotonin to attach to the receptor site better. But if the receptor site was actually created and working better, you wouldn't need that. So again, these are all lifestyle things that we can do to support our kids with autism. And the more medical side effects that we have, the more burden we're putting on our other organs when we're trying to support one. And then, of course, we have our genetic factors. We know that 1 in 10,000 kids are still predisposed to actual autism. And this needs to also be taken into consideration is, does your child have regressive autism, or do they actually have genetic autism? And regressive autism normally looks like they actually were hitting milestones and all of a sudden began a regressive process. They may have said a few words. Sorry, my camera is really not making me happy right now. They may have said a few words, they regressed over time, and that is considered regressive autism. This is the type of autism that we see have lots of success with lifestyle support. Now, genetic autism too, please do not disregard this. Do not think that just because your child is genetically not capable of, supporting them or supporting them exactly the same way, lifestyle will still have impact because it will still reduce their chances of chronic illnesses. It will still help with their brain development, and it will still allow them to likely have it will guarantee to help them have a much better outcome. I shouldn't say it. All studies show this. And of course, lastly, gastrointestinal issues. So if we do not address gastrointestinal issues, we will actually see much more severity. There are 4 different message pathways from the gut to the brain. They all lead to the amygdala, and they are actually all the gut pathways go there. Now, what is the area of the brain that's generally most impacted by autism, or where we say there are anomalies that cause autism? And it is in the amygdala, which is kind of the central control where we see a lot of emotional regulation, and we see memory, so academic and learning and ability to remember and sensory processing, because if we remember things, we can actually start to use our sensory processing to pinpoint and focus on specific things such as receptive, and this will increase receptive language, eye contact, and the ability to process information so much better. So these 8 things, I'm going to repeat them quickly. Okay, so number 1, sensory sensitivities and stress. Number 2, restricted diets and eating patterns. Number 3, limited physical activity. And then number 4, co-occurring conditions. Difficulties in healthcare is number 5. Medical side effects is number 6. Genetic factors are number 7. And number 8 is gastrointestinal issues. If these 8 things are not, if these 8 areas are not supported, your child's ability to become more high functioning, the percentage of that will go down extremely. Now, there is no guarantee that your child may be able to become high functioning, but these are major factors that are going to support. We must remember that currently the lifespan for severe nonverbal autism is actually between the ages of 36 and 39 years old, based on different occurrences, either comorbidities, gastrointestinal issues, anxiety and depression, suicide rates going up, eloping, drowning, and multiple other things when they're much younger. And so this is not okay, in my opinion. And so the best that we can do is offer as much lifestyle advice as possible. And if you are wanting to have more advice, you want to learn more, you want to join the Blue Life Autism program, feel free to hop into the webinar where I describe exactly what it looks like to be part of the program, exactly what we did to go from nonverbal severe to complete remission. I hide nothing. There's even the framework of what I used so that you can hit the ground running even from there. But I would love to welcome you into the program. It does have open and closed enrollment dates, but we are going into an enrollment date. This video is recorded in August. And so if you are interested, make sure to look at all the links below, regardless of if this is an enrollment date or not. You can hop in and join the wait list until the next enrollment period. I cannot wait to see and have you guys on board. Enjoy this video, and I hope that it gives you as much education and aha moments as it was meant to. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you in the next one.